Do you ever hate actually reading the news every morning? Like it's the same over and over and over again. It's just one atrocity after another. If you look at the situation in Gaza today, the Israelis have dropped a 500-pound blockbuster bomb on a cafe, killing dozens and dozens of innocent people. Now, everybody knows that that's a crime against humanity and a war crime. And does anybody do anything? No. Now, when I look up Canada's resolution here as to what our position is, apparently Canada is concerned. You know, and I'm thinking, wow,
Concerned.
I feel
Wow.
like I feel like maybe the citizens in Germany under the Nazis had no say in anything whatsoever as their government did whatever the hell they want or did not do what they should be doing. It's a shame that Canada has sanctions against multiple countries around the world and has said nothing,
Well, the
absolutely
least you could
nothing.
do is sanction Israel and sanction the U.S. for participating. What's the world afraid of the U.S.? Afraid of Israel? Like, you got to take a stand sometime. And allowing war crimes and intentionally turning a blind eye to war crimes, that's not acceptable on any level. You got a criminal running the U.S. who's obviously got hidden motives to aid and abet the killing in Gaza. I mean, ranchers used to put out food bait for wolves. And when the wolves came to eat, they shot them all. That's called a bait trap. And in Gaza, they're using human bait traps. They're starving the people out. They're forcing them to come to beg for food, and then they're conveniently annihilating them, claiming that they're Hamas in the food lineup, so they kill everybody there. That's ridiculous. That is pathetic that the world is allowing that, and I'm ashamed to be a Canadian because our government will not stand for what is right on the world stage. And not only are they not standing for preventing war crimes in Gaza, they're not standing to prevent war crimes in the Ukraine. And it all focuses back to one country, the United States of America. And the United States of America should be held accountable for their turning of a blind eye and aiding and abetting war crimes. You cannot change history. History will reflect very poorly on the United States of America for this wanting participation in war crimes. What's your take on that, Cal?
I think international law has gone into the wastebasket. When the Americans aren't signatories to things like the International Court, where even on the small scale, Israel and the U.S. continue to keep sanctions on Cuba. You look at the bullies in the world, and it comes down to the U.S. and currently Israel. They think they can do whatever they want,
Well, it's
and
not
by
think
way of
they can do whatever they want because the rest of the world is not standing in united against them, and the power of uniting is stronger than one country or a couple of countries. And like there's the whole UE or EU, and there's the British Commonwealth, there's the French colonies, there's the Spanish colonies. They all united are able to influence the outcomes of these war crimes. And that should be the goal of the UN. Get rid of the frickin' veto power and let democracies around the world try to protect others from war crimes.
So there's a report released by the Armed Conflict Location and Event Data Project that shows between October 7th, 2023 and May, is, is before Israel attacked Iran on June 13th. Israel has carried out more than 35,000 recorded attacks across 5 countries. 35,000, five
Yeah.
countries. Like and the majority of the attacks, of course, have been in Palestine with at least 18,000 recorded incidents. Lebanon, 15,000 plus. Syria,
Yeah.
600 plus. Iran, almost 60. That was when the report was put out. And Yemen, 39. So when you look at where the problem is currently in the Middle East, who is committing war crimes, who is committing genocide. And what is our government saying about it? It's embarrassing. Like, where are the sanctions on Israel? I mean, we've put sanctions on Russia, and just to swing to Russia for one moment, the Russians launched the largest aerial attack yet, apparently. One person was killed. Now, one person is still one person too many, but more
Exactly.
people die in car accidents in Toronto every day than are dying over there. Yet we've got sanctions on Russia up the yin yang.
Yeah.
Nothing. We still supply arms to Israel. We encourage them. It's a shame on humanity. If
Well, Trump has a telephone call with Putin just before July 4th, and lo and behold, July 4th, Ukraine is bombarded by the largest drone missile and strikes right on Kiev, the capital. Like Trump the day before said, I'm withholding all replacement arms for the Patriot missiles. We're not giving them any self-defense mechanisms to prevent Russia from bombing the hell out of the cities and the civilians. That's aiding and abetting Russia directly from Trump. And Trump should be charged with war crimes. He should not be gotten away with committing these war crimes because he is aiding and abetting the war crimes, discussing with the enemy of the United States and the free world of what he's going to do to make sure that Ukraine can't protect its citizens against war crimes. And lo and behold, the next day, his buddy Putin is committing war crimes with the blessings of the leader of the U.S., Trump. And Trump should be brought before the Hague on war crimes. He is participating willingly and knowingly that his statements and conduct will cause the death of citizens and the commission of war crimes. He is no better than Putin.
They actually have a law that says that if somebody picks up an American under an order from the International Court of Justice, the American military is authorized to attack whoever is doing that.
Holy shit.
So there's not a chance that would happen. But to put the entire to put it's difficult. One person's death is one person too many.
Oh.
But the thing is, the world is at least putting sanctions on Russia for its behavior. They're doing
nothing
nothing.
I mean,
nothing.
Canada put our peacekeepers on the damn border. Like, what the hell are you sitting not getting involved? We don't have to be in direct conflict with either country or anything. Put our people there to make sure that the war crimes aren't going to be committed. That we can do. I mean, I don't know of too many Canadians that wouldn't feel that stopping war crimes is part of their commitment of being in our military. We're a peacekeeping military. Do our jobs. Get out there, put ourselves as a barrier between the conflicts of, even send our troops over to Ukraine and line up on the border of Belarus, saying that Belarus and Russia can't come through on that border. And if they attack us, fine. You just committed war against Canada. But we can't turn a blind eye to these crimes. You have to participate.
Corey, here's the issue. At the very least, we could do is put economic sanctions on them and call them out. But here's the thing. Israel's got 175,000 active military personnel, 500,000 reserve, 2,200 tanks, 530 artillery pieces. They've got radar-controlled Iron Dome missiles. They've got 196 F-16s, 83 F-15s, and 30 F-35. So what would Canada be able to do in order?
A human shield. It's just a
lovely,
shield. I mean,
lovely. Kind of like a 12-year-old Palestinian. He's a human shield for Hamas,
but
allegedly.
It's better our military taking a stance saying, look, you can't be doing that, than to have innocent people that have no ability to put pressure on a country for their actions. So there are things we can do. And
cut off the military aid, put some sanctions on, stop buying whatever it is they're selling, stop selling them anything that they're buying.
Great, but you also have to have feet on the ground to create a barrier. And that's the point, is you do have to. It worked in Croatia-Serbia conflict. We had troops on the ground there, being a human shield between the barriers. Yes, it's dangerous. It's not desired work, but it's something that Canadians are good at because we are a multicultural country that can do it very effectively. I don't know what the solutions are, but turning a blind eye to war crimes are not acceptable, and we have to take proactive measures. And if calling out our government for being inactive and not taking any measures, then so be it. Our government isn't doing the right thing. I agree with you. Start sanctioning Israel and start sanctioning the U.S. Like, quit capitulating and sucking up to criminal organizations. I don't care whether they're countries or the mafia. Quit sucking up to them. But, you know, we can do a lot more than what we're doing, and other countries in the world can do a lot more that they're not doing too. It's not just on Canada. But it's time that the world changed and started recognizing that criminal states aiding and abetting in war crimes, whether it's the U.S. or Russia or China, need to get full sanction. You know, don't buy their products, isolate them in the markets, and start doing our job of protectionism to protect the weak and the ability of others to commit war crimes. That's something we can do and do a lot better than what we're doing. I mean,
Well,
we don't have all the answers, but doing nothing is no answer.
well, as an example, in England recently, there was a Palestinian organization. It's a fundraising, not for profit, was been declared a terrorist organization. They wanted to get the designation lifted pending, the hearing. And of course, the government wouldn't do that. Now, we also have what's called the Canadian Museum of Human Rights in Winnipeg, which was a big kerfuffle when it opened. And, it's got a number of permanent exhibits. And of course, the lead permanent exhibit is examining the Holocaust. They have a theater, and they have dimensions and testimony. They've got all kinds of material on the Holocaust. So the Holocaust was horrible, absolutely
Yeah,
horrible. But
absolutely.
they also have a section where they ask you, do you have any suggestions for new exhibits? And so I wrote to them and suggested that an exhibit with respect to the war crimes that are being committed in Gaza become an exhibit. Guess
Let
guess
me
what?
guess, they didn't even respond.
No, no, of
Yeah.
course not. Of course not. They're not interested at all. But when you listen to the testimony or read the testimony of these people, and they do have interactive website,
Yeah.
it sounds very, very familiar to what's happening today. And if these people that are committing these atrocities, the Israelis, can't see the correlation between what happened to them and what they're doing to somebody else, they're pretty sick. And there's an awful lot of Jewish intellectuals that are saying that Netanyahu is worse than Hitler. They point out that Hitler didn't bomb cultural, religious schools, universities of Jewish people. When you
Wasn't
look at,
Hitler Jewish himself?
I don't know that, but
Yeah,
when you
maybe.
look at the people that were involved in the Holocaust, they were all kinds of people, from intellectuals to socialists to communists to Polish military officers. It was horrible, absolutely horrible. And you think the
Well,
world would remember that and not allow that kind of behavior?
on Monday, there's a post that Germany is concerned at mounting death toll in Gaza distribution site. Germany is now going public saying they're very concerned about these reports, which are coming in almost daily, about incidents of violence in connection with the distribution of food. Germany knows what the Holocaust and genocide is all about, and now the German government, as of Monday, has gone public to say that this is really concerning.
It's
Well,
about
talk
time.
is cheap.
But
Take some damn
yeah,
action.
yeah,
Talk is
yeah.
cheap. You know,
I
they're
like the
going on. There are always deaths and injuries there, and the German government is monitoring this very critically.
yeah,
Critically,
yeah,
critically,
oh
it's
yeah.
taking action, like action. You can't allow war crimes to go on and turn a blind eye. Talking about it doesn't do a whole lot of good. But if Germany can go public with it, Canada go public with it, and take action as a unified group, maybe you can start putting some sanctions on, sending whatever strong messages through action would be a lot better than just a headline that nobody ever sees.
Well, Netanyahu is on his way to the U.S. this week in order to discuss with Trump, obviously rearming and reattacking Iran, because
And trying to
Iran,
get him pressured to get the courts in Israel to throw out his charges of corruption. And that's always been on the plate with between the two of them. They've been talking, and Trump's tried to pressure the courts in Israel to drop the charges against his buddy Netanyahu for, whatever conspiracy charges or corruption charges he's up on. And that's going to be front and center in that conversation. And then they're looking at gaslighting situations and what is the next distraction so they can commit further crimes in Gaza. So my guess is there's going to be some sort of big display of military conduct in Iran because Iran hacked the computers of the U.S. and has threatened to release confidential information. Maybe with any luck, the Epstein files will be leaked by Iran. But this meeting with Netanyahu is to cause some sort of distraction, whether allowing Russia to do more in Ukraine, or maybe U.S. is going to step up and deliver the equipment to Ukraine so they can effectively defend themselves, so that it causes a distraction that allows Netanyahu to bulldoze and get rid of people in Gaza.
no, they're
I
not
don't
finished with
trust these two at all.
they're not finished with Iran yet, but they're also, besides brothers in arms, they're also brothers in crime. Both of them have been charged with corruption, and in Trump's case, he's been convicted numerous times. But if you look at what is happening in Iran, they're blaming Iran for not letting inspectors in to inspect the damage that the American bombs made. Now,
Wow.
like, come, and the last time they let the inspectors in, the inspectors put out a report that was probably erroneous, and it was put out before the end of their discussions with respect to settling the matter, and it was subject that was used for a sneak attack. And
Exactly.
all I read in the media here is, was it obliteration, absolute obliteration, minor obliteration, real damage?
Well, if there was damage, it would have created a crater because there's a hollow building under the mound, and that would
Yes,
have collapsed the structure, and it would have made a big crater. Those bombs did absolutely dick all, just like the
but
Iranians said,
but
and they're not letting the U.S. know how stupid the bombing was because they don't want them to be informed. Let Trump go brag that he blew up the complex, but I would never let an inspector in if I was Iran, because really there wasn't a whole lot of damage, and you can see it from the satellite pictures that those bombs were totally ineffective.
but who cares, Corey? That's all a red herring and window dressing. The fact
Yeah,
of the matter is, they flew halfway around the world to drop bombs on
to
people,
commit a
to
war
attack.
crime.
Yeah, that did nothing. That did nothing to deserve that, right? And it's against international law, and they don't give a shit. And all
They
their
need to be held
cons-
accountable. The U.S. for that needs to be held accountable. And
yeah.
they will be held accountable because now there's military in the streets of their cities, because Trump now is in war with Iran, and he has the military sent in to quash, imprison, throw in the alligator Alcatraz. Anybody that opposes him is now going to be thrown into alligator Alcatraz. And guess what? Anybody eaten by an alligator, there's no evidence that they disappeared. So, you want to talk about, horrendous.
You mean they missed the
Anybody
flight?
bragging about alligator Alcatraz?
They
Like,
missed the
give me
flight
a
to
break.
Honduras.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what's going on. The military has been launched in the US. It's a full-blown dictatorship now with full military power. And you think there's ever going to be an election in the US? Never again, US. And hopefully it doesn't cross our border, because that's not going to be good for us either. And I don't see this ending well for the US. And alligator Alcatraz, give me a frickin' that's war crimes against their own civilians. There's no way that the international UN body should ever allow anybody to set up a penal colony where it's surrounded by alligators, bragging that they're going to feed them to the alligators. That in itself should tell the world about the conduct of Trump and his regime. And he's not just the head of it. There are millions of people with this attitude supporting and propping this regime in the U.S. Canadian citizens, don't travel to the U.S. Don't go there unless you absolutely have to. Quit buying U.S. products until the U.S. has a conclusion to its civil war. There's going to be a civil war in the United States because those that are good, upstanding citizens wanting democracy are going to have to take a stand. Just like they had to take a stand in Ukraine to have democracy, you're going to have to take democracy into your own hands in the United States and never allow dictatorships and this to ever happen again, that criminals run your country.
Back to the Middle East,
Yeah,
there's 40 to 50,000 U.S. troops in 19 sites over various locations in the Middle East.
that's quite a lot.
Oh yeah, they've got huge military presence there. There's up to 750 U.S. military bases around the world,
Yeah.
and they can't afford health care for 13 million of their citizens this
Yeah.
time around.
I mean,
80
it's their
countries.
fault that they're broke and poor. I mean, it's not has nothing to do with the capitalists making sure all the money ends in their pockets, and they got a workforce that's so broke they'll do whatever they told just to put bread on the table. I think you have to reevaluate what really capitalism is and quit being gaslit by the wealthy that, it's top down, what do they call that? Economics? What do they call
Trickle
that?
down.
Trickle down economics. There's no trickle down economics with a capitalist. Capitalism is nothing more than a belief in the elites tell you what you want to have and should have on your plate or for a home. They depict what services you're going to get, what businesses you're allowed to have, and what your income restrictions are going to be. And they have to keep poverty in check because poverty is their mainstay to the workforce. The poorer the people, the easier it is to get them to work for peanuts so that they can hoard the wealth and live a lifestyle that everybody else is always going to dream for. And they only let a few, 1 in 10 or 20 million, ever rise out of poverty. And that's what capitalism is. It's probably the worst of the worst ideologies out there. It is totally run by the rich. It has nothing to do with the average person ever gaining from capitalism. That's my take on it. I'll give you a good definition one day of capitalism.
The U.S. spent in 2020 $778 billion on its military, which is more than the next 10 countries combined.
Well, they just did an announcement that ICE, in this new big budget of the U.S., ICE, which is attacking citizens of the U.S., was given more money than the Russian military expenditures for the year. So that tells you how much money was donated to ICE to enforce getting rid of citizens they don't like and exporting them or sending them to alligator Alcatraz. There'll be more stories, I'm sure, on that. And a Canadian died in one of their prisons that was a U.S. citizen. And there's been dozens of people die that were U.S. citizens in this ICE sweep down there, that they're arresting anybody they just don't like. Period. Skin color seems to be a priority, and whether you have an accent or not that they don't like seems to be a second priority. So it will happen in the U.S. They can knock on your door, and whether you're a citizen or not, you can be hauled away and never seen or heard of again because you die in captivity. And I'm not sure what the legal rights are, but I'm pretty sure Trump owns the Supreme Court, so you're never getting compensated for your losses. And dead people don't get compensated anyway. So, well, Cal, that pretty well banged that topic out of the.
I think everybody who cares should at least write their MP, MPP, or MLA as well, and tell them that they don't represent you if they're not opposed to what's going on in Gaza right now, that they don't represent Canada if they don't oppose what's going on in Gaza. They don't represent human rights and justice if they don't do something other than say we're concerned.
But do you think politicians here that are backed by the financial wealthy, you can't be a politician in Canada without having money. You have to answer to these people, and a lot of foreign influence is here. If you speak out against the U.S., most of the media is owned by the U.S. So as a politician, if you say anything bad about the U.S. and Canada, you're not going to get favorable press, and you are not getting elected next time. Can our politicians get some kahunas and stand up? I doubt it. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Subscribe to the channel, give us a like, and please share the video. Don't be afraid to share this commercial with your friends too.